all and everyone, my name is Peter. Welcome to Now You Know It. Today we are going to look at the worst predictions in history and further on an interesting bonus video about the English language. Right, let's look at the worst predictions in history. Now, the first one is from Variety magazine, 1951. They said about rock and roll, the Beatles will have no future in show business. Charles Darwin, writing in the foreword to On the Origin of Species, 1859, I see no good reason why the views given in this volume should shock the religious sensibilities of anyone. Economist Irvine Fisher, in October 1929, 3 days before the stock market crashed that triggered the Great Depression, said stock prices have reached what looks like a permanently high plateau. Then about the Beatles, 1962, a Decca Records executive to the band's manager Brian Epstein, following an audition in 1962. He said, "We don't like your voice sound. Groups are out. 4-piece groups with guitars particularly are finished." John Langdon Davis, A Short History of the Future, 1936. Democracy will be dead by 1950. Margaret Thatcher, October 26, 1969. It will be years, not in my time, before a woman become Prime Minister. Guglielmo Marconi, pioneer of radio, writing in Technical World magazine, October 1912. The coming of the wireless era will make war impossible because it will make war ridiculous. Kaiser Wilhelm II said to the German troops at the outset of World War I, August 1914, "You will be home before the leaves have fallen from the trees." Surgeon General of the United States, William H. Stewart, speaking to the U.S. Congress in 1969, "You can close the books on infectious diseases." Lieutenant Joseph Ives, after visiting the Grand Canyon in 1861, "Ours has been the first expedition and doubtless to be the last to visit this profitless locality." Robert Millikan, American physicist and Nobel Prize winner in 1923. "There is no likelihood man can ever tap the power of the atom bomb." The president of the Michigan Savings Bank, advising Henry Ford's lawyer, Horace Rackham, not to invest in the Ford Motor Company in 1903. "The horse is here to stay, but the automobile is only a novelty, a fad." Dr. Dionysius Lade, "Rail travel at high speeds is not possible because passengers unable to breathe would die of asphyxia." William Orton, President of Western Union in 1876, when Alexander Graham Bell tried to sell the company's inventions, said, "This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication." Charlie Chaplin, in 1916, 2 years into his big screen acting career. Now the rest of the quote. "It's canned drama. What audiences really want to see is flesh and blood on the stage. The cinema is just a fad." An aide to British military commander Field Marshal Haig wrote in his report following a tank demonstration in 1916. The idea that cavalry will be replaced by these iron coaches is absurd. Thomas Edison said in 1889, the light bulb inventor insisted his own direct current DC current system was superior to the competitor George Westinghouse AC system, alternating current, and took every opportunity to discredit alternating current. Fooling around with alternating current is just a waste of time. And Mary Somerville, pioneer of radio educational broadcast in 1948. Television won't last, it's a flash in the pan. Now about computers, Popular Mechanics 1949. Computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons. The Time magazine 1968. Remote shopping, while entirely feasible, will be a flop. New York Times. Robert Metcalfe said, I predict the internet will soon go spectacularly supernova and in 1996 catastrophically collapses. Now about Y2K. White Magazine editor Edmund de Jesus, 1998. He said, Y2K is a crisis without precedent in human history. And the iPhone, Alan Sugar, 2005 said, there is no chance iPhone is going to get significant market shares. No chance. And about Twitter, Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer in 2000. Using Twitter for literate communication is about as likely as firing up a CB radio and hearing some guy recite the Iliad. Now we get to the English language. Which language in the world are the closest to English? English is a bizarre language that doesn't seem closely related to any other language, despite being one of the most commonly spoken languages in the world, thanks to globalization and the internet. But while it's true that English isn't mutually intelligible with any other language, it isn't true that English has no close relatives. Here are 5+ languages that are most similar to English, and it is almost so dissimilar also. Look at the sample sentences and see how many words you can recognize. Now the first, German. You might have heard once that English is a mix of German and French. While that is not really accurate at all. English and German indeed belong to the same family of West Germanic languages. German, however, has a very complex and heavily gendered grammar on top of 8 vowels. And now the Dutch. The Dutch is a rather better contender than German for closest relative to English, because while English is a West Germanic language, it belongs to an even more specific subfamily or Lower Germanic languages, named so for their geographical distribution along the lowlands of the north. Besides English, Dutch is the most widely spoken of these low languages and is often set midway between English and German. Scots. Scots is a tricky entry, as many people can't even agree as to whether Scots is a sister language of the English or a dialect thereof. Scots descends from Northumbria, Old English, but has developed somewhat independently of its southern neighbor with a lot of unique vocabulary you wouldn't find in English. Today, Scotch is rarely spoken, having been supplanted in most places by Scottish English. But come New Year, New Year's Eve, all over the English-speaking world, people sing Auld Lang Syne in Scots. Frisian, considered by some to be the closest language to English. Frisian is actually three distinct minority languages in the Netherlands and northern Germany, which share a lot of linguistic innovations with English, such as the ch sound written ts in West Frisian. Naturally, after centuries of living among Dutch and German speakers, the Frisian languages have diverged greatly from their shared roots with English and are not mutually intelligible with it. Danish, Swedish and Norwegian. On paper, the languages of Scandinavian aren't genetically close to English, belonging to an entirely different branch of Germanic languages, but languages don't operate like organisms do and can interact and create hybrids with one another even if they aren't closely related. English is similar to Nordic languages because of the impact of Danish speaking and Old English during the Viking Age, as well as a similar process of grammatically simplification that the Scandinavian languages underwent. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for your support. Leave a comment about the video or email me direct. Click thumbs up, subscribe and ring the bell. Do this and you will receive new videos immediately when available. Thanks for your support. See you next time.